the last 5 years, I have been working with some of the biggest creators on the internet. And with them, I was a retention director. Now, what does this mean? It means that I help them understand how to make people watch for longer. Because platforms like YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, when people spend more time on the platforms reward them by sending more views in their direction. So I've been helping people like Mr. Beast, Stokes Twins, Owls Universe. These are creators with over 100 million subscribers. And so the lesson that I want you to take from this, if it works for them, I can promise you it also works for you. I also have a research company. It's called BrightRock. Basically, what we do in this research company is we look into how the brain reacts to content. Think about your dopamine, think about your noradrenaline, and how it affects, and what we can do as strategists, as creators, to make people pay more attention to what we do. And last thing is that if what I'm saying interests you and you want to look deeper into this, I also have a YouTube channel. We've just reached over 500,000 subscribers, and to me that shows that there's a lot of people with a passion for content. So if you want that, you can go that direction. But other than that, these are the main talking points that I want to get to. So I want to tell you a very short insight in how I got to where I am today and where this knowledge really ties back to. And then I want to give you some insights on working on this content. So this is how I'm going to talk to you about packaging your content. This is your thumbnails, your titles. I'm also going to talk to you and share a little insight from production that I've been doing, also the editing process, and then also tell you how this could apply to you and what you can learn from this. Now, some of this knowledge, maybe you don't make content before, or you know somebody, you will figure out yourself how this can apply. At the end of the day, it will all tie back to one thing. Viewers are just humans, and when we connect with humans, we want to be engaging. So let me first begin with how I got here in the first place. So I'm going to take an analogy. And as you can see, this is a picture of a restaurant. It's not very clear, but you can see inside the restaurant, it's a luxurious restaurant. So when I got into this industry of content creation, one of the things that I thought about is that, hey, every single time when people make content, they just think about, hey, what's a cool little idea? What's a cool title that I can have? Maybe I can put a thumbnail on it. And when you listen to TikTok videos about how to make a piece of content, whether it's organic or it's paid, you always get this very basic advice. It's like, oh, just say this sentence as your opening sentence. Like, hey, here's 5 tips to do this. Or maybe they will say, put a face in your thumbnail or any of those kind of things. And one of the thoughts that I came with when I entered this industry, because actually I was invited in this industry, in this content creation industry, because they were like, hey, why don't you figure this out? And one thing that I thought about is, well, this kind of sounds like a restaurant. If I have a restaurant, is it just make good food? Or is there more to it? And I want you to think about the last time that you went to a restaurant. Right? Maybe it looked good on the outside, but when you went inside, what did you actually care about? Was it just the food or was it more? And the way that I thought about it is that actually there is a lot more. When I walk inside the restaurant, I look at the waiter and I greet the waiter. I say, hey, how's your day going? Or actually, typically they say that to me. So that greeting alone already mattered. And then the way they see me, the way they walk, maybe they rush to their spot. And I can't keep up, so now I feel a little bit more in a rush. Every single little detail matters. How the menu looks like. Is there multiple currencies? Is it translated well? Every single thing matters. So when I got into this industry, what I thought to myself is like, that's very interesting. A restaurant is an experience. And in that experience, there's all these little things that matter. And the way that, to this day, actually, people treat content is they don't treat it like an experience. They treat it as something that's so simple. You can just make good videos and people watch it. And I found that, hey, that's actually, I don't believe that to be true. So I started looking very much into it and I started learning a lot of things. And that's how eventually I ended up working with people like Mr. Beast and stuff. Is because those people were also obsessed about making that experience better. They saw the videos like an experience, just like in a restaurant, where every single second matters. And I'm quite sure a lot of you have seen those videos before. There's a lot going on, right? Maybe it's not for you, but behind each decision, there is a thought, and there's a reason why those decisions were made. So what I want to do with the rest of my time here, and later on I also invite you to ask a bunch of questions, is I just want to give you some insights. And my goal is not to tell you like, hey, this insight, use this as a tactic, do this yourself. My goal is just to get you thinking about what you can do if you make content. Maybe you've got a business and you're trying to engage with your customers. Maybe you actually want to make content for the first time. Or maybe some of you actually are already traders and you do something and you just want to improve. So let's talk about one of the first things. Just like in the restaurant, before somebody goes in there and orders their food, they first need to like the restaurant, right? How does it look like? Do I even want to engage with this? So that brings us to packaging your content, right? The outside of the restaurant is the package of the restaurant. And on YouTube, you have that too. Now, when I joined this industry, most of the times when people think about packaging, how about packaging, they think about, I'm going to just make a good thumbnail. And maybe I'm going to write a title that is engaging. Now, there's a lot of knowledge that goes way beyond what I can talk about, but there's a lot of things to optimize title. But even if you look into all of those kind of things, when I looked at this, I was like, I still feel like there's stuff missing. Because when you look at the outside of the restaurant, do you just care about the logo that's there? Or do you care about the door? Do you care about the plants that they put outside? Do you care about the type of lighting? You care about a lot. Right? And everything matters in your way of judging whether you want to engage with this, yes or no. And on YouTube, that's the exact same way. I want you to think about the last time that you went to YouTube and what did you look at? Did you just look at the title you engaged with? Or did you also look at the thumbnail? Or did you look at more things? And here is a whole list of things. Maybe you looked at which creator uploaded that video. I would say that matters. If there's a restaurant and you know it's Gordon Ramsay's restaurant, I'm quite sure you're way more likely to step inside. So when you make something, think about it. If people are not familiar with your name, they will become less likely to click. And that could affect what type of content could do well. So yes, you could see a very popular person make a video. That worked for them because it's them. But that might not work for you because your name is not known enough. On the other hand, the amount of views also matters. This is called social proof. There are certain videos, if I, for example, have a video with 500 views, not 500 million, and I say, how I grew a business to $1 million in revenue. Well, most likely, most of you actually would not click on that video. So if I am making a piece of content and I'm trying to convince people that, hey, you should listen to me, maybe I shouldn't talk about that just yet until my video starts scoring the right amount of views for you to take me serious. Now, if you don't make content, I also want you to think about this one. Right? Maybe you have an ad that you're making, paid marketing, and you make some claims, but in reality, it's filmed like somebody who's just filmed their content with an iPhone for the first time. Right? People are not going to take you serious. It's not just views either. And again, it's just this thought process. The video age matters as well. I'm not sure if you've heard of this, but there's novelty bias. When we see that something is new, well, guess what? We're more likely to engage with that. And then also, the video length is also one of the things that on YouTube matters, is that certain types of content we like longer and certain not. A podcast, if the podcast lasts 20 minutes, I'm quite sure your way of interacting with that one is going to be completely different versus a 4-hour podcast. Think about a Joe Rogan, think about Alex Friedman, etc. And the last thing as well, and this is the one that a lot of people don't think about on YouTube too, is the autoplay segments. When you go to YouTube and you go to your homepage, how many times do you hover over it? And then and then you see the initial segments and you actually make a judgment based on those segments. Now, what do you do with all this, right? And what I encourage you to do is, when you are working on the experience, whether it's content or something else, I want you to think about every single little component that the viewer could see, or that your customer could see. And think about how this could affect them. Maybe there's a novelty bias going on. Maybe there's a confirmation bias in their mind. Maybe there's social proof. All those things matter. So when you fail, often it's not because you had a bad title, a bad video idea, but often it's because one component was just not good enough in order for the entire thing to work. So that's something that we learned on YouTube, and when I work with creators, I often think about it, hey, are we ready? I've worked with some smaller creators as well, and when they make a video idea that's really, really big, I often ask them like, hey, we're not pulling enough views, we can't pull this up just yet. But hey, maybe in 5 months when we get there, once we start reaching 10, 20 million views per video, maybe then we're ready because then people will take us serious. So that was with packaging, a small little thing I wanted to share with you. Now the next lesson, so this is a lesson related to production. Right? So production is the process of filming your content. And it's also the process of setting up your sets, etc. So here's a little thing, and I thought it was so interesting. So what you see on the screen here is what we call a retention chart. On YouTube, this is a big thing, and you also have this on TikTok, on Instagram, etc. So these are charts that show exactly when viewers are watching and when they tune out. And over the past 5 years, this is my expertise, this is the thing I'm truly passionate about. This is why I spend most of my days looking at these charts. Because they tell me exactly when is a viewer bored and when not. And that information teaches me so much about humans. So I'm taking this retention chart and I brought this one because what you can see in the middle of that circle here, you see a little dip. Now I want you to think, what could that dip be? One thing that it could be is that maybe you have multiple segments in your video and it's the loss of engagement after that first segment. In my field of work, they call it segmentation loss. After a segment ends, we naturally lose interest. But in this case, it's not segmentation loss. I just wanted to throw it in there in case you ever see that and you're like, oh, that's interesting. What this is, it's an ad integration. So this creator specifically, whenever they started making their video, and after X amount of time, they integrated an ad. Hey, this video is sponsored by insert brand here. It's a very generic thing that people say, and then people tune out. I'm quite sure that a lot of you, whenever you hear that, even if you're enjoying the video, you're like, nah, I can move on to the next video. I'll go back, listen to Baby Shark or something. So one day I had this issue that we were working on a video. It was actually Squid Game. Many of you may have seen a very popular Squid Game video before from a certain creator. And the creator came to me and was like, hey, the brand really wants us to do it this way. Really wants us to say, this video is sponsored by blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm going to ask you, actually, I don't have to ask you because I can make the assumption. A lot of you as well don't like it when creators do that. But brands always ask us, they're like, we want this like this, even though viewers don't like this. You know, we don't care. We know it works. We get our conversion. But this is really terrible for the creator because this could be the difference between 10 million views and 20 million views. And for a creator, that's a lot of money. So they came to me and they were like, hey, Mario, what can we do? How can we solve this one? And I think this is where we found a solution. So you won't be able to see it very well from far away, but the top chart here shows a typical ad break completely inserted within a segment. You start, this video is sponsored by, you give the information about the brand, and then, here's how it's going to apply to you. But then the bottom became the solution. So what I thought is that, hey, people are, how can I prevent them from skipping? How do I make sure that people keep on watching and the brand is also happy? Because the brand wouldn't be happy of losing people. So the solution that we came up with was that as long as we just mix it. So what we would do is we would do a little bit of segment. You know those in Squid Game, you have those like little papers, you throw it on the ground. So you throw it on the ground once, you read 2 sentences of the brand read. Then you do it again, 2 sentences of the brand read. And you do it again and again and again. And because of that solution, we found that less people tune out. Now, what I want you to take from this one, because again, I don't know how many of you are doing brand tweets, maybe you're working with a creator, and maybe it failed. Well, the reason why it failed is because you might have done it the first way. So experiment with the second way. But if you are not, if maybe you are not dealing with creators that much, what I want you to take away from this one is that just because just because you want it a certain way and you've done it a certain way all the time, doesn't mean you have to continue to do it and there's no other solutions. So this is one of the things we deal a lot with the creator sphere is that we have a problem and we have to cleverly solve these things. So next time when you watch a creator, I want you to pay attention to this one. Are they doing it the first way, where it's just this block, or are they doing it the second way? Maybe go watch a Mr. Beast video and you'll quickly notice the second way. So anyways, that was a small little lesson. For me, I personally get very passionate about these things. And to me, when I told the brand about this was our big breakthrough moment. So the last lesson that I want to share with you is some lessons from editing. So whenever we think about editing, a lot of times we just think about, hey, let's just make a video and let's see if we enjoy it here, and maybe I'll add some music to it, etc. But here's what I'll teach you. Just like a restaurant, all these little things that you worry about, well, guess what? With content, it's the exact same thing. We care about a lot of things. So never underestimate what the viewer cares about. And here's the big lesson before I go into, because I'm going to show you a big list here. Often, whenever we run a business, we create an advertisement or anything like that, and I hear so many times, we say, oh, yeah, I'm going to do an A/B test. And I only believe that I should worry about the things that are measurable. I always ask them, how do you measure music? How do I measure the smell in a restaurant? I can't measure that. How do I measure whether my waiter looked amazing or he looked like, he didn't take a shower in 5 days? I don't know. That is important, but it's very difficult to measure. So here's some things with editing in YouTube that we care about. And by the way, this is a very short list, but it's just to give an idea. Viewers care about visual variety. Do I see enough progression there? They care about the type of storytelling structure we go for. Is it 5 steps in a row? Does it escalate? Is it a 3x structure? Is there B plots going on? Are the sentences easy to follow? Do we have enough comedic relief? Sometimes it's too much. In educational content, I always tell, when I work with an educational creator, for example, I worked with a fitness influencer, and I told them, I want you to make at least one joke every video. So you don't seem completely serious, but also people don't get distracted by what you're doing. Right? And are we giving the main creator enough screen time? Often they don't get enough screen time. Is ever seen widely appealing? Do I deliver on the expectation of the video very quickly? I see this very often. People go in the video and they're like, hey, this is my name. And like 2 minutes in, and I'm like, bro, yes, you still haven't touched on what you promised me that you would touch on. And there's a lot of things like, how's my music integrated? Do we have sound effects? Is it auditory repetition or visual repetition? A very special type of repetition, even if you're doing something as implied repetition. I encourage you to look into it. It's a very interesting one. So what I'm trying to present here is there's a lot of things going on. So here's the thing, right? I'm going to show you 3 practical examples of ways that we have solved this one. And next time when you watch a piece of content, I want you to look, hey, are they doing this one or not? And when you make a piece of content, also think about that too. First one is visualization. This was a creator I used to work with. Is a guy that goes by the name of Jerry Etienne. He's a very successful fitness creator. And he could have easily done this exercise and we wouldn't have these green lines. But I believe that you can feel that these green lines, they just add to it. Because guess what? Viewers, humans, we love easy to interpret visuals. Here's another one. Whenever something big is happening, right? With music we have that, like the big drop is coming in. Well, guess what? In YouTube content is the exact same way. We have these little risers, what we call them, and we add them before big reveals or before we reveal a piece of information. And that helps with making people more engaged with their content and interact and just enjoy it more. It's these little things. Like I said, it's like this smell in a restaurant. And here's another thing. It's like, this is called structural clarity. So when you give viewers a sense of understanding of how is this video structured, how is the information structured, you show this kind of stuff. We love it. There's this one thing, I'm not sure if you're familiar with what's called a matrix chart, but here's a little thing. If you ever think, hey, should I use this chart or that chart? Matrix charts, humans seem to love it. And we learned it, by the way, from this retention chart I showed you earlier. So what should you do here? Is if you make content, and this is going to sound super simple, but that's really what it comes down to. There's this midweek chart that also has it. The beginner says, just make great content. Think about the viewer. In the middle, it's like, oh, we gotta do this, oh, I gotta feel good, this, that. And at the end, it's just think about the viewer. And that's really what I want you to think about. Next time when you create something, you just think like a viewer. Think about everything that might matter to you. And when you think that, they might not actually care about that. No, they do. They do care about that one. So, obviously, this was a very shorter presentation, of course. But my main thing that I wanted to address here is I just wanted to share you insight of my industry. I work a lot with creators and YouTubers. And hopefully you learned a little bit, you took a little bit away. But don't don't treat it like something easy. Don't just make something and just assume that things don't matter. So if there's any questions, I'd love to take some, and hopefully you took a little bit of it. Thank you very much.